Hello everyone and welcome to the class manual. So let's just sort of jump right into it. Quadratics. Let's start with a really easy one. Usually in the standard equation like the one listed above, you're gonna have a c value, which is a constant. It's not gonna be multiplied by the x, by the inputs that you're gonna give to the function. However, let's start with a really simple one to get into the habit of factorizing. X squared minus 8x equals 0. So how will we go and try to solve this? As we said, we're trying to solve using factorization today. So what do you think we should do? Of course, we're going to factor it. What can be factored from this term and this term? For one thing that is common between both of them is 1, but that's kind of useless. However, we also see x, which is in both of the terms. So we can factor it by x. X minus 8 equals 0. And by solving quadratics, we're trying to find the input value that when goes into this equation will equal 0. So what can x be in order for it to be equal to 0? So sometimes in quadratics you can have two solutions, sometimes you have one, and there are some times where you won't have any solution at all. However, here we have the case of two solutions. One solution is this x, because anything multiplied by anything multiplied by 0 can be equal to 0. That can be, it will be. So here, if this x is 0, this is one of our solutions, and if this x in this expression, this parenthesis, is 0, we will also get 0. So here it will be x equals 8. Why? X minus 8 is going to be equal to 0, so x should be plus 8. So these two are going to be our two solutions for the following quadratic. Really simple. Okay, so we can go on and add the constant now. We have such quadratic equation: x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. So in these types of equations, what we're trying to find are the values that we have to plug in two brackets that are multiplied by each other, which will give us 0. And then we can put each bracket equal to 0 and solve for x. What do I mean by that? We're going to have x here, because you see x is squared. So it should have been multiplied by itself. So x squared. We see here the negative in the middle. That signifies that there's a plus in one, there's a minus in another one. You can swap them, it doesn't matter. But why do we say this? Because a plus and a negative is the only way that when you multiply them by each other, you get a negative answer. So one of them has to be negative. And then the values that you're going to put in these places are actually going to be found by this equation. What we're trying to find is that, you see, technically in the quadratic equation there's an a here. So, and this is the c. So what we're trying to find are two values that when they get multiplied by each other, they're going to give us the value of a times c is equals to 1 times negative 15, which is 15. So those two values, when there's time each other, they're going to give us negative 15. However, when they're added to each other, they're going to give us negative 2. So what two values times each other give us negative 15? You can think of negative 5 times 3. It should give us negative 15. And that would be correct for here. Why? Because negative 5 plus 3 is equal to negative 2, which you have here. So we already found our answers. We're going to have plus 3 here and negative 5 over here. Now it's really simple. X plus 3 equals to 0. So our x is going to be negative 3. And then x minus 5 is going to be equal to 0. So x is plus 5. Our two solutions. Okay, so next we're trying to cover what would happen if the a in the standard quadratic formula is something not equal to 1. What do I mean by that? I mean some equation like this. 3x squared minus 11x minus 4 equals to 0. So we're still trying to find the two numbers like we did last time with the constant. So a times c here would be negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12. So when they're multiplied, it's going to give us negative 12. And when they're added, it's going to be equal to our b, which is negative 11. So if we just trial and error and just think it off your head, you'll finally get to the conclusion that it's going to be negative 12 times and 1. When they're multiplied, it's going to give us negative 12. And when they're added, it's going to give us negative 11. So we already found the answers, 12 and 1. However, because of this 3 here, our factorization method is a bit different this time. We have to rewrite this equation, such as this. 3x squared. We can rewrite 11x now, minus 12x plus x, which is plus 1x, minus 4 equals 0. We just rewrote 11x into the two parts that we found over here. This makes it easier for us to factorize it here. Because what we're going to do is we're going to factorize it in groups. So we're going to have factorize it by 3x, x minus 4 times, this only gets factorized by 1. Just put it here to not forget about it. 1x minus 4. So we have to remember something. We realize that there's a pattern here. We have x minus 4 on both sides, which is good. It usually indicates that we're doing something correctly. Now we're going to put these two in one group, and then we're just going to add this as another factor. What do I mean by that? We're going to put in one bracket 3x plus 1, and then we're just going to write x minus 4 equals to 0. Now it's very simple, like last time. So 3x plus 1 equals 0. So we're gonna have 3x equals negative 1. If we go over here, it's gonna be x is going to be negative 1 over 3, I believe. Yep. And then we're gonna have x minus 4 equals 0. If we go on and solve this, x is equal to plus 4. And that's basically most of the equations that you need to know, the types of equations that you need to know, so you can factorize quadratic equations. That's all. See you later, guys. This was the class manual.